Hey, what's up everybody? Jake here and welcome to the hobby. And today we're talking about exclusive promo cards because if there's anything that is really collectible in the hobby, it is exclusive promo cards. They are some of the most desirable cards and a lot of times they are more collectible and outperform set cards more often than not, and they are super cool. Some of the ones that are the best lookings are the ones that are exclusive to Japan, and I guess nowadays we have a lot of exclusives that are in other languages as well, such as simplified Chinese. But some of the ones that are really awesome include the Detective Pikachu, the beauty looking back Pikachu. There's a lot of Pikachus. The CoroCoro Mew, as I like to call it, the CoroCoro Mew, Red's Pikachu, obviously Mario's Pikachu, and a bunch of other really awesome cards. A lot of these, I would say 80% of these are not available in English, and that is one of the reasons why they are appropriately some of the most desirable and highly sought after cards, because you can't get them over here in the US. You have to go through the secondary market, and sometimes on the secondary market it can be quite expensive, but a huge thanks to today's sponsor, it can be a lot more affordable. I'd like to thank Buyee for sponsoring today's video. If you're looking for any of the exclusive cards that we are going to call out in today's video, you can find all of them available directly on Buyee. Buyee makes it super easy for you to pick up all kinds of super cool Japanese exclusive Pokemon cards directly from Japan, and they'll ship it to you anywhere in the world. I've been using Buyee for multiple years to purchase anything I want from the Pokemon Center Japan, Amazon Japan, Mercari Japan, where you can get some really huge coupons and discounts directly through Buyee. These coupons are 10% off, 15% off, up to 20% off. It's a really good deal. I would highly recommend you check it out and take advantage of these deals. Shopping directly on Buyee is super easy. A lot of really cool exclusive promo cards are readily available at all given time, so I check it out every now and again, and obviously I buy a lot of stuff from the Pokemon Center Japan since a lot of this is super duper exclusive, like this Sean Wotherspoon plus Pokemon Center collab. So these are absolutely really cool. We collect a lot of Pikachu plushies as well in my personal household, so we are going to try to get a lot of the exclusive Pokemon Center Japan plushies if we can. I'm also a huge fan of a lot of the Japanese apparel. It's great looking streetwear, so be sure to check it out. It's a super easy way to just purchase whatever you want directly from Japan. So what are the pros and cons of collecting Japanese promo cards? Obviously, the biggest con is that you can't read a lot of these cards unless you speak fluent Japanese, but a lot of time you really don't need to, because I can look at this card and I can tell you immediately it's the Meowth promo card that came out in Scarlet and Violet. Some of the biggest cons is that if a card comes out in English, such as this Meowth, which is available inside of Phantasmal Flames, then it does make it so that the Japanese version is significantly less desirable, and it will probably stay that way until the end of time, which means this Meowth promo card, if you're holding on to it, you better hold on to it because you like it, because this is kind of a bag, which means it's not going to really climb, which is completely fine as well if you are looking for something that is okay with not climbing. A lot of people are not okay with that. They want to see their collectibles climb, not only because it increases in value, but it kind of massages their ego, is that yes, I picked up something that is really exclusive and it's climbing because it's desirable. People don't just want stuff to climb because it gains value. They want it to climb because it makes it so that their collectible appears a lot more precious and desirable. People don't want to collect things that are not in demand. And this Meowth is kind of like not really in demand because there is, like I said, an English version of it. And that can be a huge pro if you're just into collecting the art and you don't really care about the language. A great example of that would be like the Mega Dream Psyduck. In Japanese, it's right around 20 bucks. In English, it is $77. So if you're okay with collecting Japanese cards, which I absolutely am, this Japanese illustration rare Psyduck is significantly cheaper. So you can get a really robust and super cool illustration rare collection very easily for pennies on the dollar, especially if all you care about is the art. And now I'm going to talk about some really awesome cards that I think are going to be kind of like endless classics. These are promo cards that are not available in English, so if you want them, you have to purchase the Japanese version. And a lot of times, these are cards that I think are going to be collectible and highly desirable 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years. It will be at the end of time. These will always be desirable, even if the Pokemon company goes out of business or something like that. But let's talk about some cards that I don't think are that great. One of it would be like the Tohoku Pikachu. There's a couple of these other promo cards. I'm using this one as an example. Why won't this be super hot long term? A couple of reasons is that there are a ton of these. They printed a ton of these and they reprinted a ton of these. So they're going to be readily available for quite a long time, which is why the prices on these cards have been kind of crashing recently. And these are very, very niche. Is that they don't appeal to every collector. You have to sort of enjoy these, and they are kind of niche for what they are. Something that I think is really, really niche but has been climbing recently is this Hoopa promo card. It recently saw a pretty significant spike, even though for the longest time it was sitting at below $100. And same with the PSA copies. The PSA copies kind of spiked over the roof. And the reason has nothing to do with Hoopa. It has everything to do with this shiny Rayquaza in the background. It's really, really funny because if it wasn't for this shiny Rayquaza, and I guess this Pikachu and Lugia, less so those, but it's absolutely the shiny Rayquaza. Obviously, Rayquaza is making a return in the TCG, and a lot of Rayquaza cards are popping off. And this Hoopa just happens to have a shiny Rayquaza in the background, and it's popping off for that reason, which I think is hilarious that it's not because of Hoopa. It's because of the Rayquaza in the background. But also because it's very speculative, the prices are going to crash. In fact, they have crashed quite a bit already. So be wary of something like that. If there's like a card that went from being a $200 card all the way up to $400, it went back down to $200. Again, because it's a Hoopa card and it's very, very niche. You have to not just enjoy promo cards, but have to enjoy this specific Pokemon or this specific art, and not everyone's going to enjoy it. Some cards that I think are absolutely timeless, these will be popular forever, and they're not going to surprise you. Some of these you're going to say, Jake, these don't surprise me, and they shouldn't, because these are going to be the best promo cards of all time. End of story. These will be forever be desirable. One of those is Red's Pikachu. This used to be like a $5 raw promo card, and now it's significantly more expensive than that. But this card does represent the hobby, and it will represent Pokemon collecting for the end of time, and it will always be desirable. 30 years from now, it will be desirable. 40 years from now, it will be desirable. It will not fall into obscurity, where a lot of other cards, I think, will kind of fall into that category, such as this Meowth. Like, this is a Japanese promo card, but people are not going to remember it the same way as they would this Red's Pikachu. So if you could have, let's say, $500, and you could pick up, I guess, 6 copy of this Meowth or 1 copy of this Red's Pikachu, I would pick up this Red's Pikachu over 6 copy of the Meowth any day of the week. Some other cards that I think are going to be endless classics. These are going to be forever popular, but they are going to be a little bit more expensive, and you're going to have to chase them. So these are going to be long-term chases, but if you pick one up, they are going to be classics forever, which is kind of the cool thing, is that they won't fall into obscurity because of the strength of the pull behind some of these cards, right? One of those is the Psyduck Scream promo. I specifically picked this one because I actually think it's the most undervalued of all 5. A couple of different reasons is that it features both Haunter and Gengar. Does that count as Gengar? I'm going to count it as Gengar, Haunter and Gengar. And it features Psyduck, which are, again, a bunch of really popular Pokemon, drawn by Tomokazu Komiya. And some interesting things about this card is that the PSA 10 is incredibly expensive, like $12,000. But the raw copies are only going for right around $1,300. You might not get yourself a PSA 10 worthy copy, but I think the gap right there speaks for itself. And like I said, this is a card that if you pick up today, I'm not saying it's going to be worth more tomorrow, but it will be desirable till the end of time. This is not a buy a card and maybe I'll flip it for a couple of dollars in a couple of weeks. You're going to be picking up this card, and it's going to be something that is meant for your forever collection. And it is going to be something that is desirable forever. This is not a card that will ever be considered a trash card or a forgettable card. The hobby, no matter where it goes, whether the hobby increases in size or decline in size, let's say half the amount of people currently collecting are now in the hobby 10 years from now. Let's say things go poorly in the hobby. This card will still be prestigious, which is really important. Another card that will always be desirable is the Japan Post promo Beauty Looking Back Pikachu. this card will always be desirable no matter what happens to the hobby. That shouldn't surprise anyone if you're someone that has been watching my channel for a long time. You know I think this card is really, really awesome. And it is really, really awesome. In fact, it's actually gone down quite a bit in price. It went a little bit too high. Like, this is too fast of a climb. And it went back down to a more moderate number. So it's actually a lot more affordable now than it was a couple of months ago. This is one of those cards that if you pick up and your goal is to just hold on to it long term, this is one of those cards that the hobby will appreciate till the end of time, which I think is, again, really, really important. If you're into something vintage that will be appreciated till the end of time and is not niche, the biggest example would be the CoroCoro Mew, as I like to call it, or the CoroCoro Mew. And this is a really awesome card. This art is kind of timeless, and it is super adorable. This is one of those cards that there are a lot of Mew collectors out there, obviously. If you're a Mew collector, this is a card that you're probably going to want inside of your collection. There are a lot of people that are just simply hunting binder copies. If you want a mint copy, then I'd probably go with PSA 9. I don't think this card is probably worth it in a PSA 10. It's probably like insanely expensive. It's going for what? What is that? $45,000 in a PSA 10. So it's not something that you should probably pick up in a PSA 10. However, the PSA 9 being at $5,000-ish is significantly more affordable, and I think that is a great value proposition because the difference between the PSA 9 and a PSA 10 in terms of aesthetic quality is marginal. You're talking about tiny numbers here. However, the gap in price is absolutely ridiculous. This is a card that if you really want, I guess just pick up a PSA 9, or if you want even to go even cheaper, grab a PSA 8 for $2,500, and I think that's actually a really good deal because it's so solid compared to a PSA 10 in terms of price. It's so much cheaper. If you want a binder copy of this card, you can probably get a binder copy of this card for under $1,000. Don't worry too much about this $1,800 price. I think a binder copy of this card, you could probably find a decent looking one for under $1,000. And this is, again, one of those cards that is timeless. This is not an investment recommendation. This is a collecting recommendation, is that a lot of these cards are going to be great for your collection forever. These are cards that people are going to want to give you kudos for. These are cards that people are going to find incredibly prestigious for the end of time. And a lot of the ones that I'm picking are cards that I think there is a huge gap between the raw copies and the graded copies. So if you have these cards and they are just binder copies and they're like PSA 5 or 6-ish in terms of condition, they're going to look fantastic on display forever, which I think, again, is super cool. So some of the ones that I think are timeless: Red's Pikachu, the Psyduck Scream promo, just because it's the most underrated of the 5. I can't recommend the Mimikyu promo because it's over $10,000. This Psyduck being at $1,300, $1,200 raw, I think is a really fantastic deal. The Japan Post promo card, which has dipped quite a bit and has finally kind of stabilized. And finally, the shining CoroCoro Mew. I want to make sure I'm right on that. Some of the cards that I said, I think, like I said, would fall into obscurity. Not that they're not undesirable. These are cards that are still very desirable, but they're not S tier, right? I'm trying to recommend the S tier card. This is probably more like a B tier card. Same with the Hoopa and same with the Meowth. The Meowth might even be a C tier. So again, there are some really cool promo cards out there, not available in English, and they are by far some of the most popular cards to collect. And I am a little bit biased because I'll say I have all of these cards and that I have a copy of Red's Pikachu. You can see it right here. I have a copy of the Psyduck. I have a copy of the Japan Post promo card. I do have a copy of a Shining Mew, but it's a binder copy, so I'm not currently really tracking it. And these are really timeless cards. So those are my examples, and I think there are more, but a lot of them kind of like way more expensive. Like, I can't recommend a Mario Pikachu. That is a $5,000 raw card. However, I guess if you have the money for it, buying a Mario Pikachu raw for $5,000, it's still a timeless card, but most people aren't going to have that kind of money lying around. So I can't really recommend that. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you guys next time.